There we go. So with this recording, I'm going to actually record all of what's talked about over this web conference today, and that recording actually is saved, and I'll be posting on Blackboard the procedure for accessing those archives as well. So welcome to the two of you, and to everyone else that will be listening to the archive later on. This is the CS 101, Introduction to Computers and Information Technology course. It's also cross-listed under the CNET department, Computers, Networks, and Emerging Technology. It's a CNET 101 course as well. My name is Richard Grotegut. I'm been a professor here at Ohlone. This is my 16th year teaching in the Computer Studies department. And I've occasionally get an opportunity to teach the 101 course, although most of the courses I teach are in the CNET department in the IT area, networking classes, Unix, system admin courses, things like that. So it's great to get a chance to teach the computer literacy course once in a while as well. So I'm hoping that all of you have logged on to Blackboard and taken a look at the content. That's where the course syllabus is posted. That's also where you'll go for all of your assignments and quizzes. There are things to do on the discussion board with the course casts, and this is where you'll be looking for and keeping track of your grades as well as soon as I get that set up. And then this is the first of weekly meetings that I'll host over the next 6 weeks. So we'll just have one meeting a week. It'll be an hour or so where I'll discuss the chapters for that week. And this week we're going to take a look at chapters 1 and 2. So that's the content that you'll need to study for this week. So let me just take a quick look at the syllabus. I'll share that with you guys. So hopefully you can see a copy of the syllabus on your screen. If you could just respond, you can say yes, or that'd be great. Sonia, great. What about you, Hillary? Can you see it? Okay, great. Just never quite sure on the application sharing how this is going to work, depending on people's bandwidth. So again, this is a CS and CNET 101 course. It's a general computer literacy course. It's designed for all students to take. It's a transfer course. I think it's a required course for business majors. Here's the description. There are the learning outcomes. There will be lectures. I'll do those during these web conferences once a week. There are assignments at the end of each chapter. There are quizzes, weekly quizzes as well. There'll be 2 exams, a midterm and a final, on the content that we study. So the midterm will be after the first 3 weeks of the summer school and cover the first 6 chapters, and then the final will be won't be comprehensive, but will cover the last 3 weeks and the last 6 chapters. Your participation is recorded with your performance on Blackboard and the work that you do in there. There is a textbook I did send out. We're mostly required to have you use the latest edition, the 2013. But quite honestly, the 2012 edition is perfectly acceptable, and I've received a few email requests with interest in students using the 2011. So the authors of the book are quite shrewd. They put out a new edition every year, and they've been doing that for quite a number of years. There's really not a whole lot of difference between the 2011 and 2013. Maybe 95% of the information is the same. So If you haven't purchased the book yet and you can get a hold of a 2011 edition, that would probably be sufficient. Anything you can't find in the book, you can certainly look up online. You'll have a chance to do that as well. So I use Blackboard. That's the main online repository. Slide presentations are there, labs, worksheets, whatever you're going to be using are all listed there in Blackboard. Hopefully you all have access and have been able to log on. I use this tool for web conferencing, CCC Confer. It's a free tool provided to community college instructors throughout the state of California. As you can see, it's pretty powerful. It allows me to share applications, allows me to archive those lectures, and I can do that all for free. So I see we have a new log on, Christine. I don't know if you can hear me yet, Christine. We already got started, but welcome. The course cast. So each week there's a podcast, audio podcast at this website. It says you're going to be required to complete at least 12. Actually, we run half the time, so there are 6 of them that you're going to need to do. They're a review of topics presented in the course cast. The first course cast, I posted that, was published yesterday on the 24th. And we'll show you how to log on and do that a little bit later on. Some important dates listed here. You need to pay attention to those. Here's my course breakdown in terms of your deliverables and the weight of each one. As you can see, the midterm and final exam are really the bulk of your work in here, with the chapter quizzes and assignments and participation being about 1/3 of the course requirement. So you need to do well and perform on the midterm and final. And then the class schedule is here too. So we've got 6 weeks. We've got 12 chapters to cover. I've identified the chapters. I've posted each of those topics. There will be quizzes, 2 quizzes each week on each of the chapters that you'll need to spend some time completing as well. Any questions on the course syllabus? And Christine, I'm not sure if you can hear me yet. You could just type in the chat window. That would be great. Wonderful. All right, let me shift applications here. And I want to go to our Blackboard site. Okay, so Sanjay, yeah, on the quizzes and the tests, I think the quizzes are 15 to 20 questions. They are timed. You'll only have 30 minutes to answer them. Actually, the exams are 50 questions each, and they will also be timed. So you're not going to really be able to look up every single question. You won't have enough time to do that. So hopefully you'll be able to answer some of them after having done the reading and listen to the presentations. So here I'm logged into Blackboard from your perspective. You get onto the home page. I've made some course announcements. Those announcements appear here, right? Starter class, they're all listed here. And you should also receive those announcements via email as well. There are class documents listed here. So the syllabus that I showed you is posted here. The PowerPoint slides for each of the chapters that we're going to be studying, I'll have them uploaded here ahead of time. Here are instructions that obviously the 3 of you were able to to figure out and use to log on here to the CCC Confer web conferencing site. And then there's another document on how to access the class CourseCast. That's another website where you'll need to go to listen to the podcasts. Homework assignments. So these are weekly. There's a chapter assignment. It really requires you to respond to each of these by typing in your responses in Blackboard. So Chapter 1 is on a topic from Chapter 1. This one happens to be on online banking. So you need to read the statement here, and then you're going to write a brief report of at least 100 words on the advantages and disadvantages of online banking. And you record that either by directly responding into the submission section. So let me show you how you might do that. If I click on the link, here's my question. I have to write a brief report, right? And I'm going to do that right in this submission area. Or if you prefer to prepare that 100-word report and use Microsoft Word or something, and then save that as a Word file, you can upload it and attach the file by browsing your computer here as well. So there's 10 points for that one, and we actually have 2 little assignments posted for this week. So let me go back. There's one on online banking and another one on the World Wide Web. Both similar in what you need to do and how you need to respond. You're going to write 100 words. That's more than one sentence. In fact, you can use Word to find out the word count exactly if you want to make sure you get into 100. You know, if you don't get quite to 100, but your response is clear and nicely written, you can still get full credit. But if you only have 50 words, you know, that's only half of really what you need. So you're going to get less points for that. So you want to try to get as close to that 100 words as possible. And if you do over, that's okay too. So those are the homework assignments. So each week there will be 2 of these, one for each of the chapters, and they'll be very similar as these are. And they'll be on topics for each of the individual specific chapters. On the discussion board, that's where you'll need to respond to the weekly course casts. I put a pre-week one on there. That's really kind of extra credit that some of you were able to take advantage of. And then if I click on the week 1 course cast, here's my posting, course cast number 1. And then I see that I've already had some respondents, right? In fact, Sandhya, it looks like you were able to figure that out and do yours. I haven't actually checked them off yet. I'll do that at the end of the week. But you need to listen to the course cast of this week, June 24th. You can get to that site and do the course cast by going to this link. It's a podcast. You need to listen to it and identify 3 of the stories that you like the best and give a brief 1 or 2 sentence response for each one and record your responses as a reply, just as Dave and Sandhya and Alex did it up here. All right? Was there a question any of you had? I see we have Vince or Vincy logged on here. Yeah, when you yeah, the due date for the pre-course cast would be the end of this week, so that's a little bit of extra credit for those people that get an early response on there. You can always go back and listen to the archived course cast from that website. You can listen to the previous one, but I'm mostly interested in the current one of that week, and it's posted every Monday, usually by the middle of the morning, by 10 a.m. or so. I'll have that posted on Mondays. Okay, then the last part, let me go back to the home page, are the tests and quizzes. There's nothing posted here yet, but starting at noon today, the first 2 quizzes will appear here. They're multiple choice objective questions on each of the chapters. So there'll be 2 quizzes showing up here for chapters 1 and 2. You only have 30 minutes to answer the questions, and I think, Sonia, they're actually just 15 questions. Let me take a quick look here and log on to the actual site so I can get a proper count for you. Just take me a second. Yeah, the first 2 quizzes will be available right after noon today. And the first quiz for Chapter 1 has 15 questions. So that's going to be typical for each of the quizzes. You have 30 minutes to answer the 15 questions. All right. And again, those are going to appear right under the tests and quizzes section right here. So you'll need to log back in afternoon today and to take a look at those quizzes. And then you'll need to complete them before we meet again next Tuesday. So you have a week to do those 2 quizzes. Actually, let me just double check that due date as well. So, quiz due date is actually, you need to get that done by the end of the day on Monday. So you have to have it done before July 1st ends, so before July 2nd, before next Tuesday. Get that done, those 2 quizzes. All right, any questions about using Blackboard, navigating? So you've got homework assignments, you've got quizzes each week, so there'll be 2 homework assignments, 2 quizzes, and a single CourseCast discussion topic that you'll need to post each week. So it's going to be important for you to give a little time each week to do these and not wait until the middle of the term or the end of the term to catch up. Quizzes, in fact, cannot be made up. So you want to make sure that you log on during the week. And I know some people have vacations planned and might be away. You'll need to really make sure to find the time to do the weekly assignments and get them done. And I'll try to give you plenty of forewarning. In fact, I'll be posting next week's content, at least the assignments and the homework assignments early this week for next week. All right, let me back to my agenda here. Okay, so we talked about the course, took a look at the syllabus, the quizzes, assignments, those course casts are there, all that's done through Blackboard. Now I just want to take a look at the first couple of chapters, spend a little time doing that, and we'll be ready to go here. So the textbook authors have been doing this for a long time. In fact, there used to be Shelley and Cashman who've been producing books since the early 80s. So, over 30 years of putting together introductory books on computers. And, it's not that crazy to think that they would need to have a new edition each year. Technology changes rapidly. There are always new discoveries, and computers are always changing. So in this chapter, move on. There's some objectives. You need to explain why computer literacy is important. You need to define different terms. This first chapter has quite a bit of vocabulary in it. There are some components, 5 separate components of a computer that the authors have identified. And advantages and disadvantages that users experience when working with computers. It's not all good. There are some terms about networks and resources on networks that you have to be able to identify. And then take a look at the World Wide Web and the Internet as well. Although there's a separate chapter, Chapter 2, on just that topic alone. So we'll be covering that today as well. You'll need to talk about system software and application software and distinguish the two. There are different types and functions of different types of computers. They're listed here, and the authors describe them. There are roles for each element that make up an information system, so you'll have to describe those as well. And then we're going to look at different types of users, home users, small office users, mobile users, which some of you may be, power and enterprise users, and how each of them are different and how they might interact with computers. And then we'll kind of look generally at how computers are used in pretty much everything we do in all areas. So, as I said before, computers are everywhere. Oh, hold on a second. Let me pause this for just a second. Sorry about that. Telemarketing, can't get away from those guys. So computers are everywhere in everything that we do. I'm sure each of you, like me, are the same, that we get on our computer every day, pretty much. Check email, use your phone as a computer, connect each and every day. So what is this device that you're using, computer? So you'll need to have a pretty good definition, and the authors provide one for you. So what is a computer? It's an electronic device that operates under the control of software or instructions that are stored in its own memory. It has 3 parts. It has input, processing, and output. So the input portion of the information processing cycle is the data that you enter in, or the details, right? The facts. The computer then takes that data, that input, processes it, and then produces information, or meaningful, useful output in most cases. Sometimes the input and the processing results in a lot of meaningless output as well. In fact, much of the content on YouTube is kind of trivial and silly, but fun. All right, so that's the basic cycle, information processing cycle. You'll probably see that again. There's input, there's processing, and output. And then the computer devices are kind of built to handle that information processing cycle. So there's a pretty good graphic in the book, in the 2012 edition anyway, that shows the data being entered in. So it could be a list of items and charges, and then the process that the computer can do, the total price, the sales tax, organize the data, and produce a meaningful report or information. So here's a nice receipt that gets developed through the processing that takes place. So remember that you're also going to be responsible for knowing the components of the computer, and there are 5. that are part of the hardware components, the mechanical things that you can touch and feel. There's input devices and output devices. Those are the two ends of the information processing cycle. There's the system unit, the actual computer itself, storage devices where you can retain the software and information and data that you acquired, and then there are also communication devices. So as the slides, as you can see, as they change, that input device allows you to enter data and instructions or instructions into the computer. Output device lets you see the results of the processing. The system unit is actually the case, the electronic components of the computer that are used to process the data. So the motherboard and the CPU and memory, and those take different shapes depending upon the size of the system unit. Most typical are the desktop units, so that's the case that you might see the tower that might be in that system unit. But computers have varying sizes. The system unit could be your smartphone, right? Handheld and contain input device, output device, and system unit all in one device. You have to have storage to keep and write or retrieve and read items to and from the storage so that you can keep that data secured. And then there are communication devices. This is relatively new, that enables the computer to send and receive data, instructions, and information to and from one or more computers or mobile devices. So early computers were not networked together. You had to record your information on a retrievable, removable media, like a floppy disk or some kind of device, and then transport that to another machine in order to share. So communication devices were added a little bit later in the history of computers. So next slide just kind of shows you an image of a lot of the different types of components listed here. Again, this is last year's edition, but many of these components are still with us today. So you have an identification of these parts and then where they fit into those 5 components, whether it's a system device, a storage device, output or input device. You see the scanner's input, printer's output, microphone is an input device, speakers are output. Storage devices take a lot of different forms, like the hard drive, USB flash drive, etc. All right, advantages and disadvantages was one of your objectives. There are many advantages that are provided with computers. First of all, they're much more efficient and you can speedily do your work. There's a lot of reliability. Calculators are always accurate on computers. There's consistency. You can store your information, and it allows you to communicate. So there are advantages to computers that make them a device that's always going to be with us. There are disadvantages, and the chapter does talk a little bit generally about some of those. There are health risks from using the computer too much. You can have repetitive motion injuries, so you have to be careful about your use. There's security issues and violation of privacy, public safety. It has an impact on the labor force. A lot of the jobs that were there in the past are now have been replaced by computers. And then there's an impact on the environment as well. What to do with the aging electronics equipment, all the chemicals and metals that are in that as well, make sure that they're disposed of properly. And the production of that equipment too can mean that a lot of negative environmental factors can result. So what's kind of new in this chapter is this idea of green computing, reducing the electricity consumed and the environmental waste generated when using a computer. So there's a lot of strategies that have been embraced, put into place, recycling the materials, regulating the manufacturing process, making sure these computers last longer so you don't have to replace them every 3 years, and immediately donated or properly disposing of replaced computers as well. So here at Ohlone we actually have a recycling program. We take in computers that are out of warranty, we refurbish them in our computer repair class that we offer here on campus, and then redistribute those for continued use at neighborhood schools and nonprofits and such. So green computing, reducing the amount of electricity, reducing the waste, and then regulating that as well. Another topic that's listed in Chapter 1 are networks and the Internet. So here's a nice definition of a network term that you can take note of. Collection of computers and devices connected together, often wirelessly, via communication devices and transmission media. So probably the largest network that's out there is the Internet, right? And the Internet is the largest network, a worldwide collection of networks, connecting millions of businesses, government agencies, educational institutions, and people together as well. And then you can see there are a variety of ways for people to connect all over the world through the Internet. And there are many wonderful uses of this innovation, right? And people use the Internet for all kinds of reasons. We're using it this morning to connect with one another, right? So I'm at home. I suspect that you guys are at home too. It allows me to conduct class from home. I have to say that as a teacher for so many years, I've often kind of fantasized about being able to just teach from home, and sure enough, here I can do it. Anyway, people use it to communicate, as we're doing, to do research and access information, which you'll be doing once the quizzes are active. You can do shopping, you can bank online, you can make money on the stock market. There's no end to the entertainment that we can have on the Internet. You can download videos, you can stream, watch TV, share information with one another here on Twitter and Facebook. And there are all kinds of web applications that you can use on the Internet as well to do the things you need to do. So a new type of website that has become very popular over the last few years are social networking websites. It's really quite amazing the advance of Facebook and their place in the world and importance of what was a website that was developed by college students who were bored with school and wanted to have some way of posting information about one another to share their interests and ideas. And now it's exploded, and Facebook has millions of users all over the world sharing ideas, stories. So social networking sites are influential, and ironically, many businesses are looking at the skills that have been developed by people using the social networking sites to conduct business as well. So very influential. All right, next topic in Chapter 1 is on computer software. So we look at the hardware and the components, the physical parts, things you can touch. Computers don't run without software. The software is also called program that tells the computer what to do and how to do it. There's two types of software categories. There's system software, that's the operating system, and the utility programs that go along with it. And then there's application software. That's software that is designed for a specific purpose. So let me get to that. So, examples of application software. Well, I'm using one right now. I'm using PowerPoint, presenting my slides through PowerPoint to you using that application software. You're going to be using word processing, Microsoft Word, for submitting your assignments, or you might use Blackboard, which is a learning management system that you can use to submit your coursework. So that software has to be installed, and that's the setting it up, working with the computer. Installation can happen in many different ways, but you need to have the actual application program, the executable program, to be able to install that. Here you'll see on the laptop it's being installed via optical disc. And then once you want to run that software, it has to be stored in RAM so that you can use that application. So install it, run it, and then use it. That's a typical process for using software. Software isn't created out of magic. People do that job, and those people that do that job are called programmers. They develop the software, or they write the instructions that tell the computer what to do, how to process the data into information. So here's some coding that is behind this little payroll application here that's going to calculate the pay and figure out overtime and total pay for so many hours per week, etc. And there's the coding behind it that allows that to take place. Programming is still one of the fastest growing career tracks. There is software in practically every electronic device out there. So that includes, you know, your computers, obviously, and phones and all, but also your television, your automobile, your refrigerator, your microwave, your sprinkler system at home. All those things can have software embedded in them and need programmers to write the code to get those devices to work the way you want them to work. All right, so that's software. We've got hardware and software. Now, there are also categories of computers. So this is kind of an important slide too. You're probably familiar with many of these. You have personal computers, of course. I'm using a desktop computer right now to communicate with you. But there are mobile computers and mobile devices, so laptops, tablets, your smartphones are mobile computers. Game consoles are out there. In fact, Xbox and Sony both have new game consoles out. The Xbox is very, very powerful. It is a $500 game console. So those first three you're probably pretty familiar with. But there are other types of computers as well. There are servers. All of us right now are accessing the CCC Confer website server so that I can deliver this application to you. There are mainframe computers still being used as well. Supercomputers that process millions and millions of iterations very quickly. And then there are embedded computers, so computers in those devices that I talked about earlier, like your automobile, your refrigerator, and your other electronic devices that you might have. All right. So there are separate slides on each of the types here. Personal computer, again, can perform all of its input, processing, and output and storage activities all by itself. Two popular architectures are the PC and Apple computers. There's little images of each one here. Apple, for many years, only had a real small market share of the desktop computers. It's still pretty small. It's maybe 3%. But on the other area, on the mobile devices, they have a far greater share than do the other competing companies. So a mobile computer, that's a personal computer you can carry from place to place. Examples I've already given you: the notebook, laptop, tablets, PCs, and your mobile devices include those smartphones, PDAs. And I think that the iPhone is over 50% of the market share. So half the people who have smartphones have iPhones. So a couple of mobile devices: the notebook computer. There's a section in the textbook on each of these. The tablet PC, which allows you to also interact directly with the tablet. Smartphones and PDAs, e-book readers like the Kindle are there as well. All of these devices are computers. Those handheld, right? Computers, portable media players, digital cameras, another computer as well. I forgot to mention that. And then I talked earlier about the game consoles. So you can see the Wii there and some of the handheld game consoles as well. So it's mobile computing designed for single-player or multiplayer video games as well. Servers look quite different than the desktop computers. You'll notice that input and output devices are missing. This is actually a series of blade servers working together. This is the type of material you'll see at your network operating center or at your ISP. It's a centralized storage. Aloni has a fairly large server room that keeps your records, all of your WebAdvisor information, your transcripts, all on servers, a centralized area to manage it. Mainframe computers are still around. It's large, expensive, powerful computers that can handle, hundreds and thousands of connected users at the same time. So here's an IBM. They're one of the leaders still in making mainframe computers, and they're still selling them. I mean, mainframes were among the first computers and still exist and are still being used. Supercomputers can take up, an entire room, right? Fastest, most powerful computers out there, capable of handling 1 quadrillion instructions in a single second. So a recent supercomputer was on the Jeopardy game a year or so ago that competed against some of the top Jeopardy players and beat them all. So the last type are the embedded computers. Embedded computers are special purpose computers that function as a component in a larger product. So all consumer electronics devices have embedded computers. Home automation devices also. Your automobile. Process controllers and robotics in manufacturing. Computer devices and office machines. All of these things have embedded computers and the software or programs to run them as well. So here's a nice listing of all the different examples of each of those. So on this next screen, there's just a nice graphics of an automobile with all of the different sensors, computers that are embedded in the system. So auto mechanics nowadays isn't quite the same as it was 20 years ago. You need to be, a computer operator too when you're looking at automobile maintenance. So cruise control, airbag system, tire pressure monitoring, GPS devices that are in the part of the car. So these are drive-by-wire systems, so you can navigate electronically your trips as well. So your automobile has a lot of embedded computers in it and a lot of software controlling it as well. All right, a few more things. Another separate system here are the elements of the information system. We already looked at hardware and software. There are some other elements that make it work. So there's the machine and its physical parts, the programs that run on that machine, and then the data that is processed, right? The facts that you want to enter into the data. You have to have users. Those are the people that use the information system, and then there are procedures or rules that have to be followed as well. So this next slide is a little flow chart showing the steps of how information system in an enterprise might interact. So here's step one. IT staff people develop processes or procedures for recording checks. Right, that's the data that they're received from customers. Step two, the employees, the people that work at that enterprise, that work in the accounts receivable department, use a program or software to enter the checks, the data, into the computer. Sometimes those things are scanned as well. Computer hardware performs the calculations required to process the accounts and retrieve the data and store the results in storage media or a server right here. And then customer statements, information are printed on a corporate printer on hardware and then provided to the users. It can be done digitally too as well. Last couple things here are examples of computer users, the different types. Most of us fall into this first category. We're home users. We use the computer at home to do our personal finance, to access the web, to do our schoolwork, to communicate with one another, and also for entertainment purposes. There are other categories, though, too. There are small office or home office users. So this is kind of my home office. I use this for conducting work as well as doing my personal business in here. But we have other needs, right? And use computer differently. Send and receive emails, look up information, make telephone calls, all on my computer. Another category are the mobile computers. We all kind of fit into that category too, especially now with smartphones. You connect to other computers on the network or through the internet, transfer information, play games, listen to music, watch movies. All those things can be done by mobile users. The other two are the power user and enterprise user. So power users typically perform tasks that require powerful computers, working with multimedia or using industry-specific software to perform a certain task or to do their job. And then the enterprise user. When you go to work in business, you have to communicate with employees. You've got a lot of transactions. There's blogging. Enterprise users are typically provided a computer from work, and that computer is there for them to do their work. All right, the last section of the text of Chapter 1 are on the computer applications in society. So there are many areas in society. Here are some of the main ones listed here that computers are used and used for different purposes. So they're all through education, right? there are applications. We're using them now, right? We use Blackboard, we're using CCC Confer. You can do your homework and prepare your assignments on the computer. We do our financing. I quite honestly haven't been to my bank in quite a while. I do everything online to keep my financing that way. I do my taxes online using TurboTax. Government uses computers. In fact, the government is kind of accessing everybody's computers nowadays, so there's concern about that as well. Healthcare. Hospitals are among the most wired and institutions out there and have the most equipment that's connected via computers and networks as well. It's also used in the scientific area, so science uses computers. It's used for publishing. Most of the material that's published nowadays is e-published and provided in digital form. Books and magazines and newspapers are disappearing, and publishing applications have changed. We use it for handling travel and for making travel plans and arrangements as well, and in manufacturing. So most manufacturing all over the world is controlled by computers and automated. All right, so that's chapter 1. Just a basic summary, things you need to know, some basic computer concepts, the components. You need to understand a pretty good description of networks, the internet, and the computer software behind each of those. Categories of computers, categories of computer users, and the different computer applications that are found in society. So it's interesting that this last little category, we're talking about applications in society. This 101 course at Ohlony's been taught for many, many years. And it actually initially was taught in the social science department because social scientists who study people and groups and how they interact realized that computers were going to have a role in society. And so the very first class taught at Ohlony in the 1980s was by a sociology professor here that has since retired. But computers have changed the way people do things. There are a significant innovation that continues to do major changes to the way we do everything, the way we work, the way we learn, the way we have fun and play as well. So all of those things are affected by computers. All right, so we're going to take just a short break, 5 minutes, and I want to come back and take a look at Chapter 2. I know there's a lot of content, but this is a short course in 6 weeks. So I'm going to take a look at Chapter 2 as well. So let me just pause the recording for right now. Let me go back to my, let's just stop that for a second. Okay, welcome back. We're going to take a look at Chapter 2. This is on the Internet and the World Wide Web, two terms that are kind of used synonymously, although they are a little bit different. Like Chapter 1, there are objectives listed at the beginning of the course. So we needed to know a little bit about the history of the Internet. It's really pretty brief. Identify some connections and the differences between those types of connections. Who provides you with Internet access? How do you get on? How does this happen? The purpose of an IP address and its relationship to the domain name. The purpose of web browser. And then how to use some of the tools on the internet, like the search engine, like Google, and to find information as well. Additionally, this chapter takes a look at different types of websites. It looks at all the multimedia that makes up the web page and how that works. How you can do web publishing. E-commerce, how businesses are now moving to the web. And then the different types of internet or World Wide Web activities or applications that you use: email, mailing list, instant messaging, voice over IP, file transfer, news groups. And then the last thing that the authors talk about in this chapter is sort of the protocols or rules or the good practices that you should exhibit when you're using the World Wide Web and using the internet. They call this thing netiquette. So it's like your etiquette or your manners, and there are rules of netiquette that the authors talk about as well. So, like we talked about the first chapter, the internet is a worldwide collection of networks. It links everyone together, millions of businesses, government agencies, schools and institutions and people. It's the largest network that we know of. There's an evolution. It really is pretty short. It began in 1969, so that's just over 40 years ago. I was quite alive at that time, and I remember it very well, that year of 1969, not for the internet, I didn't know anything about that, but that was also the year that an astronaut landed on the moon. So the U.S. had sent astronauts to the moon. They landed in 1969. So a lot of important scientific processes and events happened in that year, including the development of ARPANET, which was the original internet. And it was set up by the Department of Defense, the Army, the military, and it would allow scientists at different physical locations to share information and work together. So here in Silicon Valley, there were a couple of really important institutions, the Lawrence Livermore Lab out in Livermore, the Palo Alto and Stanford were part of that. And we wanted to make sure that this connection, this communication system could work and function even if part of the network were disabled or destroyed by war or disaster. Remember, in the 1960s, we were very concerned about the Soviet Union and nuclear attacks, and we wanted to have a system of communication that could withstand those kinds of events. So here's a little timeline on this next screen. 1969, ARPANET becomes functional. In 1984, sometime later, there were 1,000 users or 1,000 computers connected. So in 15 years, they connected 1,000 computers. I think we have 1,000 computers connected at Ohlone alone right now. In 1986, the National Science Foundation created or took their network, the National Science Foundation Net, connected to ARPANET to become what's now known as the Internet. So that was in 1986. And then in 93, the World Wide Web was born, and in 1995, NSFNet terminates its network on the Internet and resumes status as a research network. 1996, Internet 2 is founded, and today more than 550 million hosts connect to the Internet. I think there's even more now, because remember, this is a 2012 edition, which really probably was written in 2011. So we were already a couple of years, and we're probably closer to 600 million hosts right now. So your connection, each organization that's connected to the Internet is responsible for maintaining their own network. So remember, the Internet is a collection of networks. The World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, oversees the research and sets the guidelines and standards for each of the organizations that are participating. Internet 2, which is up and running, we don't have access to that yet as the public. We're still on Internet 1. but more than 200 universities and 115 companies in the world are connected together via a high-speed private network called Internet 2. Internet 1 became rather congested, so we do have a second Internet connection that eventually will be available to us as well. All right, so connecting. How do we connect to the Internet from home and small business? There's a variety of methods. There are some high-speed broadband connection services. Many of them are listed here. All of these are pretty quick methods. Cable internet service, that's what I'm using right now. I have Comcast at home. You may have a digital subscriber line from the phone company, so it's your phone line using DSL. Fiber to the premises, that's coming. AT&T was knocking on my door here at home saying that they had installed fiber right to my house, and if I changed over from Comcast to AT&T, I could have a fiber connection. Haven't done that yet, but contemplating it. There could be fixed wireless connection, cellular radio network, Wi-Fi, satellite internet services. Each of these are methods that you can connect via broadband method. All of these are much faster than the dial-up access that I used to connect to using my phone line. So who provides this? The access provider is a business that provides individuals and organizations access to the Internet either for free or for a fee. Most of them are for a fee. So there's a couple of categories too that are listed here. This is kind of an important slide. An ISP, you need to understand what that is. That's an Internet Service Provider. My ISP is directly to me, it's a Tier 3, is Comcast, right? So they're my ISP. At Ohlone College, our ISP is CNET. They provide Internet access to all the K through Year 20 schools in California. There are other providers as well, though, besides ISP. That's your connection. There are online service providers, or OSP. These have member-only features, so you join up. So America Online, MSN, Microsoft Network, those are online service providers. Comcast does that too. I have my Comcast account, and I have services provided through Comcast as well. There are wireless internet providers as well. They provide access without wires to the internet as well. You do need to have a wireless modem in order to make that connection in most cases. So the authors put together a nice little flow chart on how a home user's data information might travel the internet using a cable modem. So here is your Xfinity Comcast cable modem. That's your first step. This cable modem is probably connected to a little wireless router that you might have, like a Linksys or Netgear at home, so that you can connect multiple computers, either wired or wirelessly, to the cable modem. Cable modem transfers the computer's digital signals to the cable, the coax cable, that runs inside the house and out through the street and down the road to the central cable system shared by, could be 500 different homes in your neighborhood or more. By the way, the more homes that are sharing that connection affects the performance. So the more subscribers you have in an area, the slower your connection will be for you. That's why, during the early evenings, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. or 8, internet connections are usually quite a bit slower than they would be at 3 or 4 in the morning, where you could have pretty screaming connection. Step 4, the central cable system sends your request over high-speed fiber optic lines to the cable operator. who's often the ISP as well. And then you're out on the internetwork, right? Routing your request to that web page where you want to buy that last item as well. So how does this get connected? How do I sit here at home and access this web page? It seems almost like magical work. It's not, though. Each of those devices has to have an IP address. That's a number that's uniquely identified each computer or device connected to the internet. Then we use domain names to take that IP address and turn it into a text version, something that's easy to understand and read. It's a DNS server, a domain name server system, that translates the domain name into an associated IP address. So here's a very common domain name that's often used, google.com. By the way, the .com is the top-level domain. That's a commercial domain. And here's Google's corresponding IP address, 72.14.207.99. Now, we could type in just that IP address into a browser and get to the Google website, or we can more easily type in the domain name as well. You may want to try this in your browser. In fact, let's see, 72. Let me try to do this really quickly here. See how that works. 2.14.20.207.99. I'm wondering if that's really the IP address. So let me go to here, back to Chrome. And then here I'm going to type in that address, 72.14.207.99. Let's see what we get there. I think our authors have lied to us on that screen. Okay, that's not going to work. So that's not the IP address. Let me see if I can find that. I'll be right back. I'll get the actual address. Bear with me for a minute there. Hold on, I'll be right there with you guys. Okay, this is actually the address, 74.125.239.105. There we go. There's Google. All right, so let me go back to our slides there. So I need to fix my address there. That's incorrect. But nonetheless, there's an IP address very similar to this one that's mapped to google.com. And it's just a lot easier for me to type in google.com in the browser than the IP address that corresponds with it. This top-level domain, remember this is .com, that's a commercial. There are a lot of other top-level domains. There's kind of a nice listing on this next slide of all of the different types of top-level domains. Some of these you're probably already familiar with, like edu is an educational institution, so loney.edu has that. There's the .com, there's .gov for government agencies, .mil for military, .net for network providers, Comcast.net, for example. pbs.org for nonprofit, and there's a lot of other ones and new ones there that you may not have been familiar with. Biz, jobs, name, etc. All right, the World Wide Web is mentioned here as well. There are different sort of names and devices that are associated with the World Wide Web or the web. There are web pages, those are the documents. There's a website that collects those web pages. There's the web server that stores them in and provides access to them as well. Then there's the Web 2.0 programs, which allows users to interact with the web page, not just look and listen. A lot of the new browsers actually have Web 2.0 built in, so the browser can allow users to access web page and Web 2.0 programs. Internet Explorer is probably one of the most popular ones. Firefox, Opera browser, Safari on the Mac, Google Chrome is my favorite right now to use. So again, there's a nice little spreadsheet that you can take a look at later on in the slides. These slides too are posted, by the way, on the Blackboard site. So, some interesting steps on how that web browser displays that home page when you make that request as well. New devices, web pages have a unique address as well, or rather the home page is the first page. Web pages provide links to other related web pages. Downloading is the process of receiving information. Some web pages are designed specifically for little micro browsers so that they show up nicely on your smartphone as well. So every web page has that unique address. It's called a URL, Universal Resource Locator. URL is a little easier to remember, and it has a web address with the different parts, the domain name, the path, and the web page that you want to look at as well. Browsers are pretty powerful nowadays. You can have multiple web pages open, and then you can tab through the one you want to go back to and look at any given time. All right, so here's 3 different web pages opened up in this web browser. Now, some of the things you can do on your web pages are search engines and subject directories. These are search tools that allow you to find information. Going to Google has been a wonderful way to quickly find solutions and to satisfy arguments that we might have on what actor was in what movie when, right? We can find that instantly. So it's been a great source of finding information. There are subject directories as well. Web pages can be organized into categories, so we have those as well. This next slide shows a list of all the popular search tools. Of course, by far the most prevalent one is Google, but there are others. Yahoo has a search tool. There is Google. There's Ask.com. There's Bing, Microsoft's search engine, and you can see there's quite a number of others that are listed here as well. There's Cool.com, which maybe some of you haven't heard about. Webcrawler. Of course, the MSN is Microsoft content organizer as well. So those search engines can really help you locate all kinds of media. You can look for images, videos, audio files, publications, good for navigation and maps. You can find about people and businesses. You can participate through blogging as well. So there's interactive tools. Blog is a 2.0 web tool. Another nice little flow chart that the authors have provided on how to use that search engine, which many of you, I'm sure, are already pretty proficient at. There are better ways to type in search information and hone it down so you can quickly find what you need by being specific about what you ask the search engine to do. Interestingly, there are jobs out there for people who can do this research and do it quickly and post that information. You've probably heard of some of the websites that go out and look to make sure that your reputation is not being damaged with information that's on the web. And they'll go out for businesses and for individuals and research what kind of information has been posted out on the internet and make sure that that information is accurate and that the positive information shows up first. Some browsers have an instant search box you can use. Google does this. It's on every web page, so you can quickly make a search that's on a toolbar rather than going to the web browsers or the search engine's homepage. This is kind of a nice little table of information that when you're doing your search you can use. These are little techniques. So you have operators that can manipulate your choice. So this one's kind of useful. You may want to keep track of this. I know you'll have to do quite a bit of research for your other classes and a little bit for this class as well. You may want to use some of these operators so that you can quickly find the information that you need. This next section talks about different types of websites. So the authors identify 13 different types. And I don't know if you're going to be able to commit these to memory, but at least you want to have them somewhere close by. I suspect that you'll be able to certainly remember 10 out of the 13, no problem. But there's a portal. You know, WebAdvisor is kind of a portal that you can get into through Aloni. You'll have other portals like on Facebook. When you log on, there's a portal for that as well. There are news websites. There are informational websites, business and marketing, blogs and wikis where you can interact and participate. Online social networks. So we already talked about Facebook and some of the others that are out there. Educational sites. That's the first 8. And then entertainment, advocacy, all right, where you can go and find advocates for particular causes, web applications, content aggregators, where you can look for specific content and they'll go out and crawl and collect that data. So Google News is kind of a content aggregator on a large scale. It goes out and grabs news stories. There's nobody really at Google that writes the news. They just go out and find the news at the different sites, the different newspapers, and post them here as well. And then you can have a personal website as well. So this information, this tons of websites and information has to be accurate, right, and evaluated. No one really oversees the content of web pages, so it's something to remember. When you're looking at a website's content, you should make sure that you're evaluating that content appropriately. You look at the affiliation, the audience, and who it should be written to, the content, the design, all those things are part of your requirements to put together your website. All web pages have multimedia features. That means they are a combination of media on each website, and it can include graphics, animation, audio, video, and even virtual reality could be part of that website as well. So each of these are described in the subsequent slides. So a graphic is a digital representation of non-text information. A picture is worth 1,000 words, so most websites have a lot of graphical information. And those graphic formats can include different types. So here's a Windows format, a bit graphic interface format, a GIF file, there's a JPEG. These are both for IP sites and internet sites. PNG is sort of the new preferred method. There's TIFF. Each of those is a different type of graphical format. Those graphics often have a little thumbnail, right? A small version of the larger graphic that you can click on and expand as well. And then there's animation that you might see on the website as well. It's the appearance of motion created by displaying a series of still images in sequence. You can see that little ball running across the screen and then quickly moving across as well. All right, animation, and then audio is another one media that's on there. It includes music, speech, or any other sound. It's compressed to reduce the file size. You need to have a player to listen to the audio, or at least an audio card so you can hear, speakers as well. And then streaming is the process of transferring data in a continuous flow. So you're not going to download the whole audio file, you're going to start listening. You can listen to PBS and NPR online by streaming. Here are some of the audio web file formats. So you can see files that have this format as well. So MP3 is a common one. WAV file for Windows audio, and there's some others listed there as well. QuickTime for the Apple computer. There's a little flow chart here I included in the slides on how to purchase and download music using iTunes. So myself and the authors, we're kind of old guys and thought that many people do this, but I learned from my own children who are young adults that they often get their music in other ways, and they don't typically purchase that music. Anyway, there's a lot of other devices out there, a lot of other software applications that can allow you to listen to music for a smaller fee. You don't have to buy music. You can just pay for a chance to listen to it anytime you want, like Pandora or Spotify, applications like that as well. So that's audio. Also video consists of images. I'm pretty convinced that video is the wave of the future, that probably in the next few years video communication will be the majority of methods, method of communicating on the net, that people will do it via video. So the use of web cameras, like I'm doing with you here, but a two-way system will become the preferred method of communicating. And then the last thing that the authors have indicated here on our web page that can provide plugins for is virtual reality, the use of computers to simulate a real or imagined environment that appears as a three-dimensional space. So that's becoming more and more commonplace as well. Now, in order to get this different types of media and multimedia website to work, you've got to have the right plugin. That's a program that extends the capability of the web browser. And here are some of the plugins that you're probably going to have to add. Adobe Acrobat Reader, Flash Player, Java Runtime, so that you can do interactivity to the web pages. Here's QuickTime, Real Player, Shockwave and Silverlight for high definition multimedia. That's from Microsoft, and then Windows Media Player is another plugin. Each of those things are should be included in your browser to allow you to take advantage of the multimedia features that appear on many of the web browsers. Some of you may want to publish. You do a little bit of that if you have a Facebook account. You manage your page for Facebook, and You can publish information in a way you like. But there are plenty of opportunities for planning the website from scratch. You can do that. We actually have courses here at Ohlone that are part of website design, and there's application programs to help you do that. So you need to plan it, analyze and design it, create it, deploy it, and then maintain it as you go forward. Those are the steps. E-commerce was listed in here too. That's very commonplace. I haven't been in the bookstore very much. I recommend, and students will do it anyway, that they buy their books online. They can usually find a much better price. E-commerce is like commerce, the buying and selling of goods, is done over an electronic network. M-commerce identifies e-commerce that takes place using mobile devices, so you can actually make those purchases using your smartphone as well. So there's a couple of different types of e-commerce that are discussed by the authors and probably will show up on the little quiz too. So there's business to consumer. So that's Amazon.com selling you your textbooks or anything else for that matter. There's consumer to consumer. If you're on Craigslist or eBay, you can sell things that you don't need anymore that someone else may want. Or there's business to business, B2B. So you have B to C, C to C, and B to B are acronyms that stand for different types of e-commerce systems. And again, another little flow chart of purchasing retail, right? The consumer displays the e-retailer's electronic storefront, picks and chooses their groceries. Customer enters the payment information online using a credit card. The bank performs security on the check, sends the authorization back. The retailer web server sends the confirmation to the customer, and the fulfillment center gets whatever it is they purchased, right, and gets it ready for shipping and addressing, sends it out, gets delivered, and you sign for it at the end. All right. So other types of internet services that are listed in here. Email is probably the very first application that went on ARPANET and the internet in the early days. So scientists and military people had to be able to communicate with one another. They did it through electronic mail or email. We still use email quite a bit, but that's changing too as well. A lot of people now use more instant type of messaging to communicate and texting rather than using email. Because email requires an email program, usually on a computer. Doesn't always run that great on a small device, but they do have applications to run on smartphones too. Email program allows you to create, send, receive, forward, store, print, and delete those email messages as well. And remember, even though you think you've deleted them, they're still there. So you need to be always aware of that and careful. So here's another flow chart that the authors have provided that takes you through the steps where that email message may travel along its way to the recipient who's going to respond to your email, hopefully, as well. Email application client programs allows you to email to a group. So you can create a mailing list. You have a single name that includes all the people in that list. You can subscribe to add yourself to that email list. I think I've done that to far too many websites, and now I'm getting all kinds of email from different organizations that I've subscribed to. Unsubscribing means exactly that. You remove your name from the list, so you will not continue to get those emails. I think I already talked about this, but this is a common internet service, instant messaging or IMing. It's real-time internet communication service. It's a great way to quickly connect and chat and share information through instant messaging. And the format's usually quite small. Oops. So chat is similar to instant messaging. It's real-time typed conversation that takes place on the computer. You guys are doing a little bit of that in the chat window here, although I haven't seen too many questions from any of you. And the chat room is an internet server that permits users to chat with each other in that chat room. So this is kind of our chat room here on CCC Confer as well. So voice over IP or VoIP enables users to speak to other users over the internet. It's also called internet telephony, right? And programs like Skype, Google Talk actually lets us communicate like we would over the telephone via the internet. All right, last couple of items here. Different types of internet services. I don't know if you participate in these, but there are news groups. It's an online area in which users have written discussions about particular subjects. Probably you do some type of news information within Facebook, but it typically requires a news reader where you can comment and participate. And then there are message boards, web-based type of discussion group. So we actually have that built into Blackboard, that message board, or the discussion group services. A couple of last services that are mentioned that you should be aware of. FTP is File Transfer Protocol. That's the second most popular or oldest application after email was FTP, because people wanted to share files, right, and share documents. It's a standard that permits file uploading and downloading with other computers on the internet. Many operating systems already include FTP capabilities. An FTP server is a computer that allows users to upload and download those files using FTP. So that FTP server is a repository for those files you can download, like the latest Java plugin, right? There's a server out there, you use FTP to transfer that Java application update to your computer so that you can install it. A lot of people do FTP activities through a web browser, so it seems like you're just using a web browser, but you're actually using FTP or File Transfer Protocol as well. And FTP makes sure that you get the whole file, and it confirms that the whole file was delivered. All right, the last topic here is on that your manners and acceptable internet behavior. The authors call that netiquette. I don't know, I haven't really heard of that term used by anyone else but these guys. But you know, it'll show up on the quizzes, so you need to be aware of that term. And it's like etiquette; those are manners and rules, right? Treat others as you would like them to treat you. That's kind of a golden rule, and we want to do that on the internet as well. So here's a list of some of those etiquette rules. I'm not going to read them all here, but they're worth taking a look at, and more importantly, they're worth following. Right? You want to do that and make sure that you know, you're participating in an acceptable manner on the internet as well. And if you don't, you might get banned, right? And then you won't be able to log on at all. All right, that's the end of Chapter 2. Here's the summary. Kind of a lot of information, pretty one-sided. I'm doing all the talking here, but hopefully I've illuminated a few things for you so that you can do well on the quizzes that should be active by the next half an hour or so. So this chapter talks about the history and structure of the internet. There was a definition of the World Wide Web. There were some slides on browsing, navigating, searching, publishing, and e-commerce. And then the different internet services, email, IMing, chats, the voice over IP, news groups, message boards, FTP are all mentioned here. And then finally, those rules of netiquette. All right, that's Chapter 2. So let me go back to my agenda here. And I see some of you realize that you can actually write on the board here as well. So not only can you type in chat, but you can also draw on my whiteboard. All right, by selecting the pen, then you can draw here. All right, any questions? Still have the 4 of you hanging in there, I think. All right, Hillary. Christine, I see you there too. Great. All right, so here's what you still need to do this week. All right, we're starting early here. We've got till through next Monday. Oh, I lost my Blackboard site though. Let me see if I can go back. Yeah. I'm back on Blackboard. So you've got the discussion. You've got the week 1 course cast. You need to make sure you make that posting on there. You've got tests and quizzes. Chapters 1 and 2 are going to show up here as of noontime today. So you want to go back later this afternoon, you can see them. There are 2 homework assignments, one on online banking and one on the World Wide Web, where you need to distinguish between web, web page, website, web server. Do that within, 100 words and post that as a submission for this assignment. And then that's it for this week. Next week we're going to take a look at chapters 3 and 4. I'm going to be on again on Tuesday morning at 10. That's going to be our regular time. I will be posting the methods for accessing the archive. As soon as I stop the recording, that recording of what was discussed today will be archived and posted here. Yeah, Christina, a lot of the quiz questions do come from the PowerPoints, but not all of them, right? There are still some that are part of the reading of the chapter. So you're supposed to have a book for the class. I can tell you honestly, though, that every semester that I've taught this, there have been students who didn't make that investment in the book, and they were able to certainly pass the course. So it's not going to prohibit you from having success in the course. It's just that if you have the book, and if you've done the reading, then your chances for success are improved, and your level of performance will increase as well. Right? So A students typically have access to the textbook. Any other questions? I see, Hillary, you're typing something and I haven't received it yet. Again, too, this is a little bit of a cumbersome tool to use for asking questions. You can always email me any questions you have. I check my email more than once a day, so I'll certainly be on. All right, great. Any other questions? If not, I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the recording right now. Do that.